Social support has been defined in a number of ways. Initially, it was defined according to the number of friends that were available to the individual. However, this has been developed to include not only the number of friends supplying social support, but the satisfaction with this support. Currently, social support is defined as the perception or experience that one is loved and cared for by others, esteemed and valued, and part of a social network of mutual assistance and obligations. Most contemporary measures of social support also differentiate between four types of support: esteem, informational, companionship, and instrumental. Esteem support involves any interaction that helps to bolster one's sense of self-worth and esteem, often promoting feelings that the individual can handle the stressor. Esteem support also helps the individual organize and create meaning out of stressful events. Recall the benefits of expressive writing? Well, quality esteem support can have similar benefits. Informational support refers to any advice or guidance that is believed to influence the stressor or appraisal of the stressor. For instance, you might talk to your professor about how to get a better grade in a class, or you might talk to your doctor about what to do about this sudden rash. Informational support can be particularly useful for problem-focused coping strategies. Companionship support refers to gaining a sense of belonging and acceptance through interactions and involvement with others. This type of support is unique in that it frequently has no direct effects on the stressor, but still conveys a sense that the individual has a secure base and strong ties regardless of the stressor outcome. However, companionship support can often aid avoidant coping styles, as people spend more time hanging out, playing games, and socializing rather than addressing the stressor. Finally, instrumental support, also known as tangible support, is any physical aid such as money, transportation, and acts of service. Often these tangible forms of support can convey esteem, such as a care package from a family member, but they specifically represent resources that enable the individual to better handle the stressor. For instance, many of you have tuition support from your parents, which will likely greatly reduce the stress you would otherwise feel about how you would pay for your education. A number of studies have examined whether social support influences the health status of the individual, and found that individuals who receive a greater amount of social support tend to experience less stress due to changes in their appraisal, they adjust more readily to stressful life events, they experience fewer illnesses, they engage in more positive health behaviors such as exercise and dieting, and they recover more quickly from injury than individuals who had less social support. Moreover, innumerable studies have linked mortality and longevity to perceptions of social support. Unfortunately, the causal link between social support and better health is still debated. There are two theories that have developed to explain this connection. The first is the direct effects hypothesis. This theory suggests that social support itself is beneficial and absence of support is stressful. That is, people who have social support are generally less stressed because they have greater social resources to lean on. Remember that broaden and build theory that positive emotions lead to seeking out novel opportunities? That theory would agree with the direct effects model because it states that just by having more resources, we are happier and healthier. One researcher went so far as to argue that one's personality may determine both the size of one's social network and one's propensity towards health behaviors. So again, the direct effects argues that more support is always associated with better health. The buffering hypothesis, however, argues that social support is more a situational resource than a way of life. Specifically, it proposes that social support helps individuals cope with stress when it happens, but otherwise is relatively inconsequential. We maintain social networks to feel connected and part of a large community, but the true benefit occurs when we experience stress and activate our network. For instance, we socialize inconsistently with classmates, but when we miss a class and become stressed we miss something important for an exam, then we reach out to those contacts to get class notes. The buffering hypothesis also notes that wider support networks enable individuals to more readily change their role and identity according to the needs of the stressor. For instance, if going through a divorce, an individual who has access to a social group where other people have also dealt with divorces would find added support in choosing a suitable coping strategy. Access to that specific group of divorcees, though, only matters given the specific stressor. The important distinction between the direct effects and buffering hypothesis is what happens to the individual when there is no stressor. In the direct effects, people without social support are experiencing worse health from lack of resources regardless of whether there is a specific stressor. Those with support, however, generally have better capability of handling both the good and bad in life. The buffering hypothesis, however, argues that anyone can be healthy and fine up until they need to activate their support network, at which point people with less social support will have a harder time coping and overcoming the specific stressor. So, now that you know both of these, which theory makes more sense to you?